If you're like me, the two most common objections that I'm getting right now are values are too high and interest rates are too high. But what I want to talk to you today about is one strategy to help work around the objection that interest rates are too high. So adjustable rate mortgages. So adjustable rate mortgages sounds like a dirty word to most people these days. You know, it's gotten a bad rap over the years, but what I think most people would find out is that they're probably wrong. There's a lot of misconceptions about adjustable rate mortgages, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today and how you can talk to your clients. So, you know, an adjustable rate mortgage, and most people talk about an adjustable rate mortgage today, what they're actually talking to you about is something called a hybrid adjustable rate mortgage, or an hybrid ARM. A hybrid ARM is a combination of a fixed interest rate mortgage and also an adjustable rate mortgage. Now, why is that important? So with the fixed period, the interest rate is going to be fixed for a period of typically 5, 7, or 10 years. Now, after those 5, 7, or 10 years, the loan adjusts based on market conditions. So it has that kind of built-in period of you know what the rate's going to be. After that, the rate's going to be dictated by the market. And how do we know what the rate's going to be when it starts adjusting? So the rate is made up of two factors. So you're looking at the margin, which is set by the lender, and the index, which most lenders today use an index called the SOFR, or the Secured Overnight Financing Rate. So when you add both those things together, that's going to give you your rate. Now, the margin doesn't change. The margin's set again by the lender. Here at Waterstone, 3% is typically our margin for most of the adjustable rate mortgages we have. There's a few that vary, but that's going to be the majority. The index, as of today, was at 3.78%. So to give you some perspective, obviously you add those together, 6.78%. The average fixed rate in the United States right now is going to be right around 7.5% for most people. So that's almost 3/4 of a point higher than those people who have an adjustable rate mortgage that's already adjusting. So they've already had their fixed period, the loan's adjusting, their rate's still going to be lower than where people who want to take out a mortgage today are and want a fixed interest rate. So it's a big difference. So now that we know a little bit about adjustable rate mortgages and how they operate, you know, I want to take you over to the whiteboard and I'm going to show you an example of two buyers that we can look at in different situations and give you guys something that you can really sit down with your clients and discuss with them and kind of use the example and you know, talk to them about ways that they can potentially buy a home without having to pay some of the higher rates and get those people moving, because a lot of those people are obviously on the fence, want to make sure that they're comfortable, make sure that they know their options, and certainly an adjustable rate mortgage is a good one. So let's head on over and we'll take a look. Okay, so let's take a look at that example. So let's say we have a client that comes in, let's call him Tom. Tom wants to buy a house, but you know, he's afraid that the interest rates are too high, and so he's going to hold off and wait for a year. So what can we say, what can we show Tom to get him moving, to persuade him that now is a good time to buy? Well, one of the things we can do is using that example of the adjustable rate mortgage. So I'm going to show you here. So let's say Tom wanted to buy a house, and we'll say he was really adamant about a fixed rate mortgage. So right now, Tom's going to buy a home for $400,000. He's going to put down 20%. So that means he's going to finance $320,000. Now we know from what I mentioned earlier that the average fixed interest rate right now is 7.5%, just around 7.5%. So we'll just assume he's going to pay 7.5%. All right. So then we know that Tom's payment right now is going to be $2,237 per month. So $2,237. So that's what Tom's afraid of. He's afraid of this number. He thinks he can't afford it. You know, that's fine. Well, now let's show Tom, hey, Tom, maybe you should look at an adjustable rate mortgage. All right, so let's assume the same example, right? Tom buys the same home, $400,000, puts down 20% and finances $320,000. This time, let's say the rate is 6% on the 5-year ARM. So let's say 5 years, so that's going to be fixed for 5 years at 6%. After that, it has the possibility of adjusting. So the payment that Tom would pay right now is going to be $1,919. So as you can see, over $300 a month cheaper if he were to buy a $400,000 home and take an adjustable rate mortgage as opposed to fixed rate. So, that difference there is pretty substantial. So you're looking at $318 per month. Let's say Tom kept that mortgage for the whole 5 years that it was fixed, right? Well, guess what the amount is going to be that he saved? Huge, right? $19,000 and just over $19,000. So huge amount of money. So let's also give him the example. Say, hey Tom, if you wait a year, here's what it potentially could look like. Okay. So let's assume, for the sake of argument, that the values have stayed the same. We're not going to say they went up or down. We don't know where it's going to be. That's for another video. But assuming it's the same, right? So Tom buys the home, $400,000, finances the $320,000. And now let's say rates go way down. Let's say they go down to 5% next year, which is what Tom is hoping for. So now Tom's looking at a significantly lower payment. So he's looking at $1,718 a month. That's almost just over $200 cheaper per month if he were to wait a year. So let's assume Tom did wait a year. He's probably going to look at that situation and say, hey, I made out great because the values didn't go up. The interest rates went down. I saved $200 a month on my payment. There's a couple of things you guys need to point out to Tom and say, hey Tom, it's not as good as it appears. Number one, equity. So over that year, Tom's going to gain about $4,000 in equity, which doesn't sound like a lot. But the other piece we have to consider is the amount that they paid in rent for that year. So how much did Tom pay in rent? Let's say he paid $1,500 a month, okay? Times 12. $18,000. That's what Tom paid over the last 12 months. So we look at those together. What did Tom miss out on in 1 year? $22,000. So as you can see, that's a huge amount of money. And then here's the kicker. Let's say Tom has a 6% and he buys the home now, takes out a mortgage at 6%. He waits a year. He's already saved $18,000 over the rent that he would have paid. He's built up $4,000 in equity. So he's already starting from a position that's $22,000 ahead of where he would be if he took a loan out a year later. But guess what Tom's going to do? Tom's going to take this 6% and he's going to refinance down to 5%. Tom's going to end up with the exact same payment of $1,718, and he's just walked away with $22,000 extra in his pocket. So as you can see, it's a good example to show your clients and say, hey, now is the time to buy. It doesn't matter where rates go. It doesn't matter what values do. All things considered, now is still a great time to buy. And adjustable rate mortgages is going to provide you that additional tool in your belt to use if clients come to you. Because let's be honest, when a client has that conversation with you and they express to you that they're a little hesitant about buying, they're going to bring up to you first. They're going to say, hey, I'm a little concerned about the rates. Very rarely do those people who are on the fence about buying end up talking to a lender if they know that rates are too high. It's usually that conversation that the agent's going to have up front and kind of relay to them that, rates aren't that high. And if you guys can feel confident talking about that, and especially in adjustable rate mortgages, that's going to put you one step ahead of the game and get those clients moving. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to, do a one-on-one with you. I'd be happy to give you a refresher. If you wanted me to talk to your clients, always happy to talk to clients about rates and so forth and their options, in adjustable rate mortgages. So I hope you guys found this useful, and hopefully we'll catch up with you next time. Thanks.